Welcome to the Action Network studio in New York City. I'm Maria Marino, and this is Green Dot Daily. We are back, baby, every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. We're going to get you as much data as you can handle heading into the first NFL Sunday of the season. We'll also have Stuckey preview the big college matchup between Colorado and Nebraska. But first, we have a Thursday night football game to react to as the Lions held off the Chiefs at Arrowhead 21-20. And as you can see, the Lions Super Bowl odds have gotten a bit shorter. They opened at plus 2,200 and are now at plus 1,900 as Jared Goff improved his stud ATS record in openers to 7-0. Hey CJ, what does it all mean?
This wouldn't mean that this ain't the same Detroit. I keep reiterating that, bro. Like, from the joint practices to all the other practices, winners know what winners look like. This team is full of winners.
Winners know, and these two know a thing or two about winning. Chris Raybon and Stuckey, it's good to see you guys again. Excited to have you back every Friday here on Green Dot Daily.
Good to be back.
Good to be here.
All right. If you're one of the 100K plus followers that Raybon has on the Action app, congrats, by the way. You've known for weeks he was on the Lions. Raybon, was there ever a doubt? And are the Lions for real?
Yeah, I think that, wasn't the best Lions performance. They left a lot out on the field. I thought that drive where Josh Reynolds fumbled the ball, that could have been really costly. At the same time, the Chiefs dropped a lot of passes, which I think helped out. But the encouraging thing for the Lions, I think, was really two things. Number one, they were around the quarterback all night. I believe Mahomes was pressured about 45% of the time. And Patrick Mahomes, in another life where he doesn't have the best arm talent maybe in the history of the NFL, probably goes down as one of the best scramblers in the history of the NFL because the way he gets out of pressure is ridiculous. So that won't always be the case. And I also thought the Lions offensively, Jared Goff looked more comfortable in the pocket, was willing to stand in and deliver some really tight window throws that I thought made the difference in the game. Some completions down the field, even when they got into, some second and longs and things like that. So I'm definitely encouraged. I think the Lions are always for real in the NFC because, look at the quarterbacks. You got to get through Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy. And there's not much there, Dak Prescott. So the Lions will be in contention all year. I thought it was a solid game, but things could have gotten real bad if, the Chiefs don't drop so many passes or Kadarius Toney doesn't put the pick six in Branch's hands.
Yeah, the margin of error was super small for the Lions, though they did get it done. Stuckey, based on what you saw last night, any cause for concern for the Chiefs and whether they have enough weapons even when they get Travis Kelce back?
No, it's the Chiefs, it's Mahomes and Reed. They'll figure it out. If Raybon was playing receiver last night instead of Kadarius Toney, they win that game. I think he was -2 or 3 EPA per attempt when he was targeted. Basically, every time you threw him the ball, it cost you almost a field goal because he basically just gave the Lions 7 points instead of the Chiefs a first down. I'd be more concerned about the Lions pass catchers. And some of the play calling, you got to get someone else out there besides Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, the screen passes to the ghost of Marvin Jones and Reynolds. And then the punt, that punt decision at the 40 when you're on the road playing Patrick Mahomes. I think the Lions got super lucky in that game. The Chiefs obviously were playing without two of their best players, 2 All-Pros, which helped them. I'm not overreacting to this. The Lions, they're still in play. Their odds to win the division definitely improved by getting this win. But the last 2 seasons, in week 1, a team that went to the AFC Championship game lost as 7-point home dogs to teams that didn't even make the playoffs. So let's not overreact here. We saw the Steelers beat the Bills 2 years ago. We saw the Bengals last year lose at home in week 1 to the Steelers again. So it's week 1. Weird things happen, especially when you're missing 2 of your best players and you drop a wide open pass that leads to a pick 6. So I'm not overreacting here. Yeah, the Lions are in play for the division to make the playoffs, but I don't see a Super Bowl ceiling for this team.
Preach. Okay, not going to overreact. It's fine. Like you said, it's only week 1. Let's look ahead, though, to the weekend now. We're going to get an under and an underdog from each of the guys. Raybon, I know you love your unders. Is there an under you're playing here in week 1?
Yeah, so the first under I played, the only under I played so far, is the Buffalo Bills, New York Jets under on Monday Night Football. And, this is one where I just think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I know it's, two of the better quarterbacks in the National Football League, but you got to look at both of these defenses. The Jets last year held the Bills to 2 of their 3 lowest point totals. They held the Bills to their 2 lowest yardage totals of the entire season. And then you look on the other side of the ball. And remember, Aaron Rodgers, this is new team, new offensive line he's playing behind. Both of the running backs really haven't gotten much work in with Rodgers or the offensive line. And so I think you're going to have a slow start. Rodgers obviously going to look to Wilson a lot. But remember, the Bills allowed the second fewest points per game in the league last year. They got 28 missed games combined from Tre'Davious White, their best cornerback, and 2 of the best safeties in the league in Poyer and Hyde. Those guys combined to miss most of the season, really. And this team was still very good on defense. So I trust them. I trust McDermott, to kind of keep things underneath it and keep it contained. And I think the Jets are going to have to dink and dunk it for the most part. And they know how to defend Josh Allen and that Bills passing attack. There'll be some new wrinkles with Kincaid, but overall, I think this is a big under for me. And you look at history of primetime games, this game opened at 48, which I get, there's a lot of hype around Rodgers coming to the Jets and it's Josh Allen, but this line is down to 45.5. When primetime unders drop more than a point, they are hitting at a 63% clip over the last decade plus. So I really think that, a lot of people want to see a lot of points first Monday night game of the year, but it might be a little disappointing.
You make good points for a defensive showcase here. You're right. There's been so much hype around Aaron Rodgers and this Jets offense. We've kind of forgotten about how good the defense can be. So, Stuckey, you know what it is. I'm coming to you for an underdog. There are a few, I would say, that are tempting in week 1. What's one that you're feeling good about?
Yeah. First of all, I would say that I agree with Raybon there in that these are 2 of the best at full strength, which the teams are now. These are 2 of the best defenses in the NFL, and both teams, their biggest question marks are along the offensive line, which I think both defenses can take advantage of and really control this game. So I think that's the look there as well. As far as an underdog, I as well like a few this weekend, but I'll throw out the Browns as a home divisional dog against the Bengals. For what it's worth, if you're into trends, home divisional dogs that didn't make the playoffs the previous season in week 1 are 58, 27, and 2 against the spread over the past 20 years. You're nearing almost 70% against the number there. But I love what the Browns did in the offseason. They bulked up on defense in their front 7, which they needed to do to fix that run D. They improved at safety, brought in a new defensive coordinator who's going to fix a lot of the communication issues that you saw on the back end that just were mind-blowing at times. There's people out of position, not understanding their assignments. And on the other side of the ball, they added speed at receiver. And I think that you can assume that Watson will be better. Will he reach his ceiling? That is to be determined. But last year he came back and he was very underwhelming, but he 700 days away from football. That was basically his preseason, trying to shake off the cobwebs, going up against defenses that are already in full speed midway through the season. And Denzel Ward will play for the Browns. I think he was cleared of concussion protocol today, which is really important. And you might see some rust from Joe Burrow for the 3rd consecutive season. He's dealt with a health issue leading up to week 1. And we've seen the Bengals struggle over the first 2 games in each of the past 2 seasons. Burrow's numbers have been very average, and he's lost to the likes of Mitch Bortles, Trubisky, Cooper Rush. So I think the Browns, I make them a small favorite here given the situation, and I like them with the points.
I'm going to give our viewers a little peek behind the curtain. This was a little bit controversial here because we have a rundown for our show. And, we like to ask our analysts for their picks ahead of time. I got to say, Raybon was all over the Browns. I mean, like a day in advance. So, Raybon, I'm going to give you a chance to jump in on this.
Yeah, no, I think Stuckey hit most of the points.
Raybon stole the Browns, by the way, on our podcast, so it was only fair that I got to steal them here.
Just trying to get the story straight.
Stuckey really hit on all the points. I think for me, what it really comes down to is how do you beat a great quarterback like Joe Burrow? You're gonna have to get pressure. You're most of the time gonna have to get pressure with a 4-man rush. And the Browns with Zadarius Smith on one side, Myles Garrett on the other, and a defensive coordinator in Jim Schwartz that doesn't make his defensive line and pass rushers read anything. It's just rush upfield. You just play. They have the talent to do that. I think that is really the key for me because Joe Burrow, when the Bengals aren't winning, and they usually are winning, they're usually covering, but when they're not, it's usually because Joe Burrow is getting sacked. He before he can find those great receivers down the football field. So that's the key for me for the Cleveland Browns. Which is why some of his numbers have been suppressed, relative to what he normally does when he has played the Browns historically. And now you throw in the fact that, it's early season. He hasn't got a full workload dealing with an injury. So you might even see those numbers dip a bit more. So let's just hope the Browns don't pull a Browns.
Well, look, it's good to hear you guys are in lockstep so far. And this is about to get interesting because it's time to fade Revell. We're going to bring Darren Revell into the mix. Darren, back so soon. Good to see you again. Let's get your pick, shall we?
My pick for fade Revell is the Cincinnati Bengals, baby. The Cincinnati Bengals. You know what? I saw all you guys be like, +2. Oh, there's 9 picks in our app at +2. Like, I mean, come on. This is one of these things where everyone feels they're as sharp as a knife. They love everyone's pick. They're shaking hands, hugging each other. To me, this is clear as day. Joe Burrow is so hurt that the Bengals gave him a big contract. I mean, he's so hurt. They're so concerned. Their offensive line last year was a complete disaster. They got through the way they did. I'm not concerned about Myles Garrett. I'm not concerned about anything. I love -2 here for the Bengals, and I very, very comfortable, actually. Very comfortable. And I love how all you guys go together like it's just supposed to be the sharpest play, okay?
What happened in Cleveland last year when Cincinnati went to Cleveland? The Browns won 32-13. That's what happened.
Okay, they had one offensive line starter in that game. Like, come on.
Who was the quarterback for the Browns?
Everyone's. I know. Okay, I know.
32-13.
Okay,
let's bet on
last year. It's a good idea.
Joe Burrow's been to more Super Bowls than he has wins in Cleveland.
This brings me so much joy because Revell has whiffed harder than usual, which is saying something on our college shows so far this season. I think he's 0-4 already, and he hasn't even been close. He even had a same-game parlay of San Jose State and the under, and you could have faded him on the opposite with another same-game parlay of Oregon State and the over and hit. He had Hawaii, which I had 7 points of value on that line. He mushed that. So
congratulations then. You won. Congratulations.
No, I lost. You mushed it. I lost on that too. This is the best news of the weekend. I am overjoyed. And I was praying that he wouldn't say the Browns because we don't know what he's going to pick. It's not in the script ahead of time. And I said, just please don't say the Browns. So for him to not just say the Browns, but to say the Bengals, might have to sprinkle a little bit more.
Listen, they didn't tell me I had no idea what you were picking. This is not like just to be a good show. I had no idea what you were picking. I looked at all the lines, stuck out like a sore thumb, circled it, definite win. This is easy. This will be easy.
Think about it this way. If it's such a lock, why isn't it at 3? Why is it going down to 2? Like, why? If it's such a lock?
Because sharps like you are like, oh, this is a good value. That only 9 people in our app. Okay.
Welcome to
how do we get sharp? Oh yeah, by winning.
Raybon, you made your point.
I feel bad that the Bengals, for Bengals fans, long-suffering Bengals fans, just hungry for a Super Bowl, and now Revell not only picks them, his company has partnered with the Bengals. So welcome to the downfall.
That is true.
The Cincinnati Bengals, who have,
you're right. Yeah,
who have never even gotten there before down.
Why don't you ask what my one Super Bowl bet is in terms of matchup?
What is it?
Bengals Lions 70-1, baby.
All right. Look, everyone's feeling super comfortable. Darren's very comfortable with his pick. Raybon and Stuckey are overjoyed about this. But before we let you go, Darren, we got to get some market report info. What do you have for us heading into the weekend?
Everyone knows I love a good under, but it's very strange to me. I always like to see what sticks out. The most bet overs this week in the NFL are 49ers Steelers, 41.5, Dolphins Chargers 51, and Titans Saints 41.5. Now, what's interesting about that is those teams were remarkable from an under standpoint last year. Yes, those numbers are low, but I think people are forgetting about how good these guys were with hitting the under. Steelers 10-7, Titans 12-5, Chargers 10-7, Saints 11-6. So yes, these numbers are low, but now they're the most popular overs because people think it's a good value. Yet these teams have been, at least last year, were the best at hitting the unders. So that's the thing that's sticking out to me. And also the Colorado-Nebraska game. I'll be on BBOC tomorrow to talk about that one. I know people are encouraging me to bet Colorado since it's so obvious, but we'll see.
All right, guys, thanks for that. We got to go take a break. That was pretty intense. Stuckey is going to stick around to talk the aforementioned Colorado. But Darren, Raybon, thanks for hopping on the show. We'll see you again soon.
Go Bengals.
The Favorites podcast and Bet365 just launched a free pick'em contest. All you need to do is pick 5 games against the spread each week. The total prize pool is $120,000 with a grand prize of $40K, and we will give away a pool of $3K for the top 5 finishers every week. This is completely free to play. Entrants just need to be 21 plus and U.S. residents outside of Rhode Island and Washington. Colorado love is sweeping the nation. Huge line movement ahead of this game versus Nebraska at noon on Saturday. Colorado opened as an 8.5-point dog and is now favored by 3. A whopping 79% of bets and 77% of money is coming in on the Buffaloes. Back here with Stuckey. So, in their opener, we know Colorado was a 21-point underdog, went on to stun last year's runner-up TCU in Texas. So, makes sense. Colorado now favored this week. What are you expecting in this game?
To be honest, I have no idea, and I think that's okay. Early in the season, there are times where you're just going to have no clue on what to do with a specific team, and this is one of those scenarios. Colorado, look, it's unprecedented. We're in a new era of college football with the transfer portal, where you can basically say, which is what Colorado did. Deion Sanders comes in as head coach, brand new staff. Basically, it's just like, I'm kicking out everyone that was on the team, and I'm bringing a whole new team in from the transfer portal. How do you grade that team? Where do you rate them heading into the season? It's a very difficult thing to do. It's something that professional bettors, odds makers struggle to do. And we only have one data point. And I personally think TCU is going to be a lot worse than the market does, and I think they're in for a rougher year than many have thought. Colorado did look great. They deserve to get a bump in the market. How much? I don't really know. And look, everyone is already betting Colorado. You are hearing about the immense handle of more than like every other NFL game. It feels like the 90s, like what, Rashawn Salam's going to start getting handled. It's crazy. But maybe everyone is right. Everyone could be ahead of odds makers. They could be ahead of professional bettors because you don't want to adjust too much early on. How much to adjust? I don't know. I don't think anyone really knows the answer. So I can't wait to get more data. I'm just fascinated to watch. Not only are they exciting to watch, but it's just exciting to watch the betting market all week leading up to the game and then see how it plays out. So last week was great. Everyone will be tuned in again this weekend. I don't have a bet. I wish I could have a hot take on this. I just need to see more to find out where I should actually rate this team, because it's really an unprecedented scenario going from where they were last year, which was horrendous, to then starting off the year with a brand new team, essentially, and beating the national runner-up as 21-point underdogs. Crazy.
Very crazy and totally fair that you don't have an actual pick. And just to sort of amplify what you were talking about as far as how popular it is to bet this game, we got some stats from Evan Abrams, our director of research here at Action Network, and we're going to hear from him more a bit later in the show. But more bets on Colorado, Nebraska than all remaining NFL games at BetMGM as of this morning. And 3 times the number of bets on Colorado, Nebraska than any college football game at BetMGM, also as of this morning. Stuckey, looking forward to doing this again coming up. And thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about it some more for what it's worth tomorrow. BBOC live, 10:30 a.m. Eastern.
Hey, you're dipping into my promo here. Let's hit it. Hit the promo. Because there's plenty more where this came from with Stuckey and company as they dig way deeper into the college football slate Saturday starting at 10:30 a.m. Eastern on BBOC, which you can watch on the Action app and our YouTube channel. Back to the NFL. Check out the games with the biggest line movement so far. Green Bay was a 2.5-point dog, now getting a point. This would be the first time since 2019, so 7 straight meetings the Bears could be favored over Green Bay. Another game with significant line movement. Jaguars opened at -3.5 and are now -4.5. Since 2008, the Colts are 2-12-1, or about 14% straight up, and 1-13-1, or 7% ATS in Week 1. The aforementioned stats are brought to you by our Director of Research, Evan Abrams. Evan, welcome back to GDD. It's good to see you.
Oh, God. Happy Football Friday. First Football Friday of the year. And this is it. It's Christmas. It's magic. Let's do it.
Oh, it's magic. Let's get it going. One of the games we just showed involves the Packers. Obviously, a whole new era without Aaron Rodgers. What else should we know about them?
Yeah, so since the 2009 season, the Bears have only been favored over the Packers 3 times in 27 meetings. And as you mentioned before, 2019, probably the last time. But honestly, if you look at the numbers, I think Green Bay is going to end up as a favorite at the end of this. Like 53% of tickets on Chicago, but 71% of the money. And you've already seen the line, like you said, jump down 1.5 points. And I think it's probably worth noting. Now, listen, Rodgers gone, different whole scenario here. But Bears, 12-28-1 against the spread against the Packers over the last 20 years. So tough going, but it's a new era. So we'll see.
Well, Aaron Rodgers used to, quote unquote, own the Bears, so that makes sense. We'll see if that trend starts to turn around now. Were there any other games that you wanted to touch on regarding things that stood out to you before the weekend?
Yeah, I don't know how we don't talk about the Survivor friendly. Everyone's going to be on them. The Commanders this weekend, open -6 a few months ago, now up to about -7. Wouldn't be shocked to see 7.5s and 8s potentially by kickoff on Sunday. But here's what you need to know. From an Action Network point of view, Cardinals are getting like 18% of the tickets, about that. And if you look at since 2018, last 6 years, you've only had one team close with under 20% of tickets. So we've almost never seen this low bet of a team in week 1. So, and the last time was the Jets, 2022 at home against the Ravens. They were getting 6.5. They lost. They didn't cover. Didn't go well. But pretty shocking. Just nobody wants to bet Arizona this week.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't be that surprised, just given the circumstances of that team. Jets, though, flipping the switch on that this time around. Anyway, we saw examples of teams with steam behind them, right? We see the line moving, but you want to caution bettors against chasing that steam. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, so let's just talk about this for 1 second. Week 1 is going to be the longest amount of time, obviously, in the entire season that lines will be open in the market. So it's interesting to kind of look at a few trends when you talk about line movement. Teams to see their line move away from them. So an example would be -5 to -6. In week 1 and 2 are 30 games under 500 since 2010 against the spread. So not a great mark when you're chasing that steam overall. Now, obviously, we did just see Detroit cover and beat Kansas City when they got the market going in their direction. So, an 0-1 to start off, but it's just kind of a caution. losing $100 better, $3,500 in this trend. So watch the steam. We'll see how it goes.
Look, absolutely proceed with caution. But, you mentioned the Detroit, Kansas City example, and I think that's kind of an exception too when you consider, the Chiefs missing one of their best offensive players and one of their best defensive players. So, the context has to be taken into consideration. Another common rule for NFL bettors is to avoid rookie quarterbacks, especially in week 1. What does your research show about how legitimate that idea is?
So I think there's probably 2 ways to look at this, or at least 2 interesting ways. One is teams with both a rookie starting quarterback and rookie head coach in their season openers are 5-13-1 since the 1970 merger. So obviously, as most people would say, in that situation, CJ Stroud and the Texans, who are getting 9.5 against the Ravens, they're in that spot this week. So see how it goes, but I don't think it's a shock to hear that these new schemes, new coaches, new quarterbacks take a little bit of time to get going. So that's number 1. And then number 2, the last number 1 pick to win their first start in week 1. So first pick, first start, all the way back in 2002. That would be David Carr, who is Derek Carr's brother. So 0-13-1 straight up and 1-13 against the spread. Number 1 picks in their first start since 2003. And that is obviously Bryce Young. So we're going to see how that goes Atlanta this weekend. So we'll see. I mean, the market loves Atlanta. I think everyone's kind of enamored by their offense. And Carolina ruling out DJ Shark. And we're going to see about Adam Thielen. So I think I wouldn't be shocked to see Atlanta line go up a little bit.
Wow. So Bryce Young looking to reverse a trend 20 plus years in the making. One other thing I wanted to mention to you, obviously, a brand new season, bettors might be tempted to just fade bad teams from last year. What have you found about whether that's the way to go?
Yeah, this has honestly been a popular trend when people look at just teams to not make the playoffs versus teams who did the year before. Now, you might say, okay, after a few weeks, who cares about the data? But it's interesting that in week 1, teams who didn't make the playoffs, 76, 54-2, 59% against the spread against teams who did make the playoffs over the last 20 years. You can find that data in Bet Labs. So Lions 1-0, started out well. Now, if you want the matches for this week, it's Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Indy, Houston, Rams, Patriots, Jets. It's a lot of teams, but again, that's about 130 game sample size over 20 years. So works out. And I will note, these teams have covered 12 straight games getting back to 2020. So we'll see if the trend continues.
And I think there are a lot of takeaways from that, right? One, you can turn around an NFL team pretty quick. And
Sure.
number 2, just looking at from last season to this season, those lines, they're not going to be probably as accurate as they would be as the season goes on. Those spreads might be a little wider for those teams and easier for them to cover. So super interesting stuff. Action Network Director of Research, Evan Abrams, thank you again for joining us. It's a pleasure, and I'm so excited to do this again every week.
Let's do it.
And you can catch more of Evan during the Power Hour Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. Coming up later today, it's Action Island at 5:30 Eastern. BBOC will have you covered for college football at 10:30 a.m. Saturday. And don't forget, The Favorites is also live recapping NFL Week 1 on Sunday at 7:30 p.m. That's what's on tap this weekend, but if you missed anything from this week, here are some highlights from our experts at Action Network.
I'm very bullish on the Ravens offense. This is the best supporting cast Lamar Jackson has ever had in his career, with Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham Jr. entering the mix. Plus, under new offensive coordinator Todd Monken, this is going to be a much more pass-heavy offense. So that's going to bode well for the over as well. So this is a game where the matchup, all the offseason moves, and our luck ranking totals kind of line up on the over here.
Now comes the vaunted Northwestern offense. Like, talk about a team that is collapsing in on itself like a dying star. Northwestern's 2 quarterbacks average 4.7 yards per attempt and 3.3 yards per attempt. Let's go UTEP. Texas Western all the way.
That is not where I thought you were going. I think UTEP stinks, and you're giving me a Big Ten school as a home dog.
So I'm going to go with the Packers plus 1.5 at the Bears, which we got the Justin Fields, who's the flashy quarterback that is on everyone's fantasy team. And then we have Jordan Love, who is replacing Aaron Rodgers, who is on nobody's fantasy team. This is just one that I think the Packers aren't getting a lot of credit because Aaron Rodgers isn't there. And then we have the Bears, who are getting almost too much credit because they have Justin Fields.
Even when Ja gets back, there's a chance that the lineup is Ja, Smart, Bain, Jaron, Adams. Luke Kennard might be a play for me. Like, I might look at that. He's 50-1. That's I think is a pretty good long shot for a guy that has an absolute green light. Memphis is maybe the team that I look at and go, we have some options here at Kennard at 50-1, maybe taking the Marcus Smart as a backup flyer on it. It's essentially like, do you think how good do you think Memphis is going to be? And I think Memphis is going to be really good, even with the jaw suspension.
For my turn one pick, I'm going to go to the other team that's been really good here, Hendrick Motorsports. I'm going to take Alex Bowman, top 10, plus 160. Action Network's PJ Walsh wrote this bet up as well. Make sure you check that right up out. I agree with everything he said there. He's been so good here, and Hendrick Motorsports has been so good here. And at this track type, this tire combination, that plus 160 is just too long for a top 10.
Remember, any picks we give out here on the show, you can easily reference by following Green Dot Daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. Thanks for watching our first Football Friday of the season here on Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. The show will be back Monday at 3 Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action app.